Welcome back to Motorsport Podcast. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Mike.
And we are here to discuss the Bahrain Grand Prix, which happened on Sunday, April 13th, 2025. So, thoughts?
Fantastic race.
Very exciting. I'd say the best race of the season.
I would agree. Yeah.
I mean, other than Lewis winning the
sprint.
But this one, actually felt like it had a ton of action. A lot of interesting strategy calls.
Yeah, I think lap one of the Bahrain GP had more overtakes than the previous three races combined.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It was interesting because right off the bat, you could tell that there was some interesting calls on strategy, like tire strategy. Talking about Ferrari, a few other teams starting on the mediums.
Yeah, I mean, because Bahrain is typically a very clear two-stop race.
Totally.
It has high deg, and it usually brings some interesting tire problems. Yeah. And I think this year's was, no different. That was very unexpected, the way the tires performed this week. I think it was very, very strange.
Though, I feel like it's not. Because I was trying to think back, and I feel like the hards never do well on this track. I should have actually looked that up. But I feel like this is a mistake that they always make because they're doing qualifying everything in the light when there's sun and there's heat.
Yeah, was much hotter during qualifying and in most of the practice sessions.
I guess it's a challenging track to I feel like your strategy changes kind of day by day, year by year.
Yeah, but I think what was interesting was nearing, after the safety car, when unexpected and I think strategies changed completely with the safety car. Several teams went on to softs.
Yeah.
And George said it himself, 24 laps on softs, that's an audacious plan.
I didn't think it was going to work. When they put Kimi on softs before the safety car, I was like, what on earth are you thinking?
Yeah, but clearly the strategists knew something.
But they didn't. Because I don't think, while they made them work for the amount of time after the safety car, I don't think they would have lasted
much longer,
as long as they needed to for when Kimi put them on originally.
So you think the slow safety car laps saved him?
Absolutely.
In that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But George's pace didn't degrade entirely, in the last couple of laps. He stayed.
Well, his car was falling apart. He was just.
Well, yeah, that's a whole other scenario.
The fact that he finished second with all of that going on,
you got to give him some kudos.
Oh, totally. Because I feel like he's usually a little more easily rattled.
Right.
Just from previous times, things have gone not to plan. So the fact that he actually held it together through multiple failures was actually very impressive for him.
Yeah, and it was throughout the entire race, it seemed.
Right.
That there was just constantly something going on with his car.
Yeah.
That
I thought they were going to have to retire it.
I think it's a miracle that he didn't have to.
Well, especially when there was very few laps left and it was basically everything had shut off. And I was like, oh my God. Because I was hoping, even though I'm not a George fan, I like George a lot more than Lando. So I was really hoping he was not going to have to retire because that would suck.
But there is some debate with the George though.
With the George?
Okay. So he had the DRS issues, right? He had tons of issues with the car. And
I think the DRS issue was more of the sensor issue. He had the sensor and the DRS?
Yeah. So his DRS issue was they had an issue with it, whatever it was. And he opened it when he shouldn't have.
Because he pressed the wrong button.
Yeah. He gained 0.02 seconds at first, then closed it immediately and backed off and ended up losing time in the lap.
Yeah.
So it had no advantage, but technically broke the rules.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought he was going to get penalized.
I thought so too. And FIA said he gained no sporting advantage, so they didn't penalize him. The debate I'm reading is, does that set a precedence for other
teams
to do stuff and say, I didn't get a sporting advantage. Why am I getting a penalty here?
Yeah, I think the FIA needs to be a little bit more consistent with their application. Like even just what we've seen with penalties, right? Like some of them are getting like really harsh penalties right out of the gate. Like
right.
And then other drivers seemingly get nothing. Because we saw, I can't remember who it was last year. It might have actually been Lando who had a false start and then didn't get anything. I think it was Lando. All the commentators were saying it's usually a slam dunk because you've hit a sensor.
Oh, you're right. It was Lando.
Yeah. And he didn't get it last year.
Yeah.
And then, I don't understand. And then got it this time. He was, I mean, to look at it, it's like, to watch the video footage, he clearly moved.
Yeah.
And then stopped. So he didn't.
He gets a few centimeters advantage.
Yeah.
Is that enough to make a difference? Who knows?
No, but then everybody could start doing that if they don't apply a penalty.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's the argument is, do you have teams strategizing on breaking the rules?
Well, then I think you have to like actually crack down consistently versus what you have now.
Yeah. I don't know.
But you get that in all sports though, right? Like inconsistent application of the rules.
Yeah. There was several applications of rules to other penalties throughout this race, right? Yeah. Liam Lawson consistently getting penalties,
which just made me laugh.
Yeah, his time is going from bad to worse.
Yeah, right.
It really is. He might be driving for Uber next year.
Oh no,
it's the only seat he's going to get.
I feel like I know I was a huge critic of him.
Yeah,
I do feel bad for him because he spent years
trying to get here,
and then it's just like the way he came in with such arrogance. No one feels bad for you now when you are like driving terribly. No one wants to give you a pass because of how you entered the sport.
Yeah.
So, and like even before he entered the sport, like it was like not entered the sport, sorry. F1, when he had to fill in for Daniel Ricciardo when he broke his hand or his wrist or whatever it was. And he was like so insulted when like they put Daniel back in.
Right.
And basically like, just talked endlessly about how he deserved the seat over both him and Yuki. You've been doing this for a while now, so this is why nobody likes you.
Yeah. Speaking of Yuki, first points for the big boy team.
And he was only 2 spots behind Max. So like that was actually pretty impressive.
Yeah. In a car that was not performing this weekend.
Yeah.
To a team who wasn't performing with 3 bad pit stops.
Yeah, like what was that? So I guess it was they had the issues with the light release.
Yeah, the release light, yeah.
And but then they also just had problems. Like it was not their weekend.
No, yeah, they really I think they screwed up everything that they possibly could screw up. I was surprised that you didn't get, a random mechanical DNF from one of the two of them with something happening.
Well, this is okay. So Max has like a history of this though, right? Like if he hasn't qualified to where he believes he should be qualifying, and if the race isn't going his way and he's not picking people off, he blames literally everything and claims endless issues. And I don't really believe it. Like I feel like he manufactures problems.
Could be.
I don't buy it because I think it's a little bit like the Lando situation where like he feels like he's entitled just to pass everybody and he should be able to. And it's like, you don't always have the fastest car. You yourself are not always the fastest driver.
Or when he's going past people easily, does he just not care about the issues? And he's like, I'm passing anyways. What's the big deal? Or I mean, we don't hear every single radio message, right? We might not know what he's complaining about when he's 15 seconds ahead of everybody else. Maybe the TV producers are just saying, don't show this message. We're going to make everybody frustrated with him.
I feel like he just complains. He looks for excuses. He is the too many ropes in his boat problem.
Sailing reference for those that don't
understand. I coached a kid that was like, I have to head in. I can't stay out there. Too many ropes in my boat. And I was like, what are you talking about? So anytime things get tough,
it's too many ropes in a boat.
Too many ropes in a boat. But yeah, I think Lando, I take it back to my comment of him needing some sort of like positive therapy person, because he will not be a world champion with the mindset that he has.
No, his post-quali interview sessions, he just looked sad.
Yeah, but like
it was as if someone had given some really bad news, like his puppy had just died or something like that. Like he just looked depressed.
It's because he's like a child that has never like lost, and he's like, oh, I deserve to win. And it's like, no, like if you look at any world champion, they believe firmly in like visualization and like planning those things out. And he doesn't do that. Like if anything falls apart for him, he has no rally to himself. He's just like, oh, that didn't work. And now I'm like, just going to pout.
Yeah. And I think Oscar showed the true speed of the McLaren this weekend, right?
Yeah.
He had strong quali, coming out on top, and that he controlled the entire race.
Oh, he was totally
dominantly.
Yeah. Like we didn't see Oscar the entire time.
No. And I mean, he wins by 16 seconds after a safety car. So 16 seconds over 25 laps.
Yeah.
Like that is just, I mean, that's max 2023 numbers.
Yeah.
Right? It gets massive win, just sheer dominance, which I thought was really impressive. A few weekends ago, I had made a comment about Oscar saying he had made some unforced errors which had caused him spots. And you were like, I don't believe you. Bring the receipts.
Oh, did you bring the receipts?
Oh, I went digging.
Okay, what'd you find?
I found nothing.
I know, because he's my boy.
He
is flawless.
He is incredible.
Yeah.
Of his retirements, mostly due to mechanical failure or getting hit.
Yeah, like what I appreciate about Oscar is he takes everything in stride. Like he doesn't let poor qualifying get in his way. He leaves every moment in the past. So it's like if he has a bad overtake that like doesn't go to plan, he moves on. If he has a poor start, he moves on. Like he always just moves past it, and Lando does not do that. And I really hope that they prioritize him over Lando. And I'm thinking, I feel like Oscar made a comment about how he just needs to qualify ahead of Lando.
Yeah.
So
I think he knows that Zach Brown has this soft spot for Lando.
Yeah.
And is, even if it's a small amount, is going to prioritize Lando over Oscar.
Yeah.
And so I think he realizes
I have to do this
if I'm qualifying ahead, they'll prioritize me.
Maybe.
Right? So I think he knows that, and I think he's going to show that to McLaren, at least for a few more weeks. And I mean, with Lando keeping his depressed face on, we got another race next week.
Right.
I mean, if he doesn't turn something around fast this week, the same thing will happen where he is in a dominant car but can't get it done.
Yeah, and like he was even getting called out a little bit by Lawrence Barretto. Like as much as that man will call anyone out because he is just the loveliest human being. But he was like, it seems like you've got the pace, you've got the car, you just need to kind of like go.
Yeah, and I think he has crossed the line between accountability of, maybe in previous seasons, I chalked up his commentary and his feelings to, I'm accountable for what I have to do, and they're providing me with the car. If I'm not performing, it's on me. I think he's crossed the line from self-accountability to sad boy.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know what happened. I have no idea. And it's interesting because if you read anything about like visualization and all of that, if you visualize things, and like I know that you think I'm all like woo-woo with the law of attraction and everything.
A little hippy-dippy.
But it's your body. So if you visualize something and you make it familiar enough, your body basically tries to move in that direction because it thinks it's real. It considers it to be like the reality. So that's why like manifestation works, because your body's trying to get home.
Right.
But he doesn't do that.
No, he's doing the exact opposite.
And he made that comment, and so he made the comment of how he was going to basically, second was the best he could do.
Yeah.
And it reminded me, not that anyone's going to get this reference, but Fallon Taylor, who's a barrel racer, who is horses, she won the world championship, I think it was in 2014. And basically it's over a series of days and then they do the average. So whoever has the best score over those days wins. And it was the last day, and the person who was like, she was basically like battling with, was like, congratulations. And she's like, I knew at that moment,
I've already won.
She had already given up.
Yep.
She thought it was mine to win and hers to lose. And so she was just like, and she had, she spent the week like meditating on it, having this mindset, and she won. And it's like, Lando, get your shit together.
But you have to think that McLaren has someone who is working on their mindset.
They might want to replace that person.
Yeah, because like Lando's in a serious funk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you're exactly right that I think his mindset is causing the biggest problem for him right now.
Absolutely.
He knew Oscar was fast, which, not to take anything, like, Oscar's fantastic. He performed magnificently. So not to take anything away from him. No. But in before the race, he's already saying, I'm going to lose.
Second is the best I can do. Like, let's walk it back to Brazilian Grand Prix last year when Max went from like 17th or something to first.
Right.
In the rain. Like,
there's no give up.
Yeah. Like, I don't think Max would ever qualify. What did Lando qualify? 6th?
Yeah.
If Max qualified 6th, he'd be like, all right, well, guess I have some more,
got
overtakes.
A couple more people to pass. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he's never going to be like, oh, my race is done. The best I can do is second. No, absolutely not. He's not going to think that way. Because as much as it pains me, like, he has a champion mindset.
Yeah, he definitely does. He has the belief, I am the best on the grid.
Which is what you need.
Which is exactly what you need to win.
In this sport, yeah. You don't want to be like Nico Hülkenberg. I just want points.
Not just I want points. I think some drivers have their mindset shifts from when they enter F1, it's their goal is I want to be world champion.
Yeah. And then they keep walking it back.
They strive for that. And then after a certain period in F1, the mindset shifts from I'm going to be world champion to I want a podium, down to I want points, down to I just want to keep a seat.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, I mean, this kind of goes back to the whole mindset thing where it's like when they interview, whoever it is, like an Alex Albon, and he's like, that's the best the car could do. And it's like, but that is what is going to hold you back, that mentality of this is the best that the car can do, because you've seen a Pierre Gasly win a race in an AlphaTauri.
Yeah.
You've seen, Esteban Ocon almost won the Brazilian Grand Prix last year.
Exactly.
In an Alpine, which was the worst, one of the worst cars.
They had almost no points.
Yeah. Things can happen, and I think it's like, okay, yeah, maybe you don't have the best car, but each track is a different set of circumstances. The race itself can change minute by minute.
Yeah.
We've seen that. Like, we've seen tires explode, and we've seen people like randomly go off in gravel traps, and like that's it. They're done.
Yeah. But I think also you go back to the example of Lewis Hamilton's Singapore 2020 qualifying time. And
was it 2020 or 2021?
2020, I'm not sure which one it was.
Okay.
His qualifying, where his lap pace was faster than the Sims projected best
yeah.
that the car could perform. Right? He's doing better than the computer thinks is possible for the car.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because he knows I have to deliver.
Yeah. But that's a world champion.
Exactly.
Right? Like it's just interesting. And I just think that it's not easy to retrain your brain.
Right.
And I feel like Lando's always had this like mindset issue because he'll go through these slumps where he has like a bad qualifying and then he has like the race doesn't go his way. Like things kind of like snowball and then he just can't get out of it.
Yeah. I think the podium this weekend, I think, showed it. You had Oscar, who has the positive mindset and is in the rocket ship of a car with a massive lead. You have George, who is driving around where everything's going wrong.
The car was just trying to kill him.
But he knows, I'm pushing everything I've got. I'm going to do absolutely everything I possibly can to get this podium.
Right.
And then you've got Lando, who is in a rocket ship but doesn't think he can do it and underperforms what the car could do.
Yeah, it's like you had the better car than George. And George's car was like slower to begin with.
Right.
And then falling apart. And he still beat you.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. Like, that should say something. But, I mean, Zach Brown seems to want to put all his eggs in the Lando Norris basket.
Yeah. I don't know if Zach...
Did I call him Zach Morris?
No. I wish. Kelly Kapowski over here. Another person I want to give kudos to, Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, he had a great race.
Right?
Like,
qualified
really great race.
Really well. I think he did absolutely fantastically. Fantastically. Finished in 7th. Gets some good points for Alpine.
Yeah.
Really impressive, I would say. Like a really good drive.
Yeah, that car, and like Jack Doohan also qualified really well too. Like he
qualified 11th.
The car obviously did really well on that track.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to see. Like I'm interested to see if Alpine kind of turns it around a little bit more this year, or if this was kind of more of an anomaly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
And then Haas is like not bad this year.
Right? Double points finish again. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did not see it coming. Well, I mean, especially with Oliver Behrman.
That start was incredible. Yeah.
Before lap 2, he had gone up to 15th.
Yeah.
I mean, just absolutely fantastic first lap. I mean, first 2 turns.
Yeah, he did really well.
Really impressive stuff. Going from 20th to 10th to secure that final point.
Yep.
And I think that's, as we've talked about the mindset, he didn't give up.
No.
He's like, I got a chance here. I'm going to go for it. And then Haas, with the strategy.
Yeah.
Like, Esteban Ocon got where he was because of good strategy.
I know.
Good drive, too.
Yeah.
But that was what got him in there.
It was very surprising for them. Because I feel like in the past, I guess they're like kind of middle of the road strategy.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they never make terrible calls.
No.
Interesting.
Ayo Komatsu was over the moon again.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you have to be.
He's not getting the angry phone call from Gene Haas.
No.
He's getting a pat on the back.
Yeah. Because I feel like they've had a strong start to the year.
Yep.
Where did Kimi Antonelli qualify?
So he qualified in 4th.
Ooh,
but then
11th.
With the 1 place grid penalty, he started in 5th. So he dropped back significantly.
Yeah.
I think for him, though, it was primarily strategy.
Oh, yeah. The strategy didn't make sense.
Right. I think he got called out. I think he got caught out by the safety car.
Well, he already had softs on at that point, though.
But I think
he had already had soft. The whole thing, it was just bad strategy for him. Like, Bono, what were you doing? I expect more from you, Bono.
No.
I feel like if you interviewed him, he would be honest and be like, it was not my best day.
No. But the car
was fast. Yeah.
Which I don't think they were necessarily expecting, because
I don't think so, no.
The Mercedes historically hasn't done well in the heat, and I know it wasn't as hot as it has been in previous years, but George had really strong pace.
Yeah, he did. Unexpectedly.
Yeah, to everybody. Ferrari.
Oh, man. It just, I don't even want to talk about it. They just got it wrong and then made it worse.
I think Ferrari had okay strategy to begin with. I don't think they were necessarily totally off. I think when the safety car happened, they made the wrong call.
I feel like they had bad starts due to the mediums.
Yeah.
And then things started to kind of turn around for them a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think they pulled them in too early. I think they pitted too early. And then what they do, so they pitted, put mediums on again.
Yes.
Which was what are you doing?
And then they went for the hards.
And it's
after, yeah.
I don't, why?
Because at that point, I think you had seen that the softs could last longer than expected.
Well, and Charles was like...
He's asking for a one-stop.
Yeah. I just don't... I feel like Ferrari, if they could just get it together on the strategy front, they would have a completely different year. I think that is their biggest downside, is just strategy is not... They just make the wrong calls too often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's been a curse for them for several years.
They should employ Mr. Science.
Right? But Carlos essentially was their strategist last year.
Yeah. I'm like, it's funny because like I feel like they just say no to Charles.
Yeah.
And Charles doesn't push hard enough. I think he's gotten a little bit sassier this year, but I think he still is kind of like following along with what they want.
Yeah, you're right. Carlos was much more vocal about what he thought on strategy.
And he kind of just did it. He was like, this is what I'm doing.
This is what we're doing, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be so nice to see Ferrari on the podium again.
I know. It's been too long. Did you see that the track surface was older than Kimi Antonelli and Oliver Bearman? Because they're little babies.
I mean, Bearman's height makes him seem...
More like an adult. Yeah.
When I see Kimi, like when he jumps on the back of a scooter with George,
he's just so little.
It's like his little brother.
Well, because George is pretty tall.
Yeah.
And then Kimi's just so tiny.
He's so little.
Yeah, it's like who invited this kid
with the scraggly hair and the little Italian accents. It's
he's enjoyable.
Yeah, I'd like to see more out of him. Did see some interesting overtakes from him. He did some serious dive bombs throughout the race, which I think is exciting to see because he's an I think he is quite an aggressive driver.
I think so too, yeah.
And I think we will continue to see some exciting overtakes from him. And I think he'll be, once he gets some more races under his belt and once he gets, a maiden podium or a maiden, really strong, impressive finish, I think we'll start seeing a lot more highlights coming out of him.
Yeah, you don't really see much from him in the race.
No.
Like, it's kind of, he just flies under the radar, good or bad. I do want to talk about, speaking of Carlos Sainz, like that significant floor and side pod damage that resulted in his retirement, which was so disappointing because he had such a great qualifying. Like, qualified, sixth?
Carlos qualified in eighth.
Oh, so I was giving him. Oh, because he was running the race in sixth for a while. That's what I was thinking. I think he's starting to understand the car and the team a little bit more. Yeah. He said the team's been really great to work with. He really enjoys them. I think he also has been very vocal of it's going to take a while. Like, it takes a while to get up to speed with a new team.
Right.
So I'm interested to see what the second half of the year, what it means for him.
But I think what's interesting is that incident with Yuki resulted in no penalties, right? So you have several interactions throughout the race that resulted in penalties.
Inconsistent application, yeah.
And then you have where there was really no impact to the drivers or the standings. And then you have this larger one with Yuki and Carlos, which causes a retirement.
I think there was more than one. They hit each other more than once.
Right, yeah. But then no penalties. Not to say that Yuki should have gotten a penalty or Carlos should. Like, I'm not sure who's at fault.
It looked like Carlos kind of like drifted into him,
which maybe is why they didn't give the penalty. Is that they know that he was the one more at fault.
Did he get a penalty? I think he.
No.
Are you sure? Because I thought that
he got a penalty for a different incident.
Oh.
He did get a penalty.
Okay, that's.
But not for that incident.
What did he get a penalty for?
I think it was for pushing someone off. It was for pushing someone off track. Huh. Yeah.
You know what? It was almost like so much happened in that race that I honestly lost track of what was happening. Because it seemed like
there was so much going on.
Yeah.
At all levels too. Right? I mean, outside of Oscar being way ahead.
Yeah.
Everywhere else on track, there was action.
And a lot of shuffling around, with overtakes and then just tires and pits and...
Yeah, and a lot of different strategy calls, as you said, which I think made it really exciting.
Well, it also kind of made it a little bit confusing to figure out the true order of where they were. You knew it was going to be more than a one pit stop. Well, you assumed it anyway.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a little bit hard to follow.
Well, especially when someone like Ocon pitted quite early and he gets shuffled up the board, as everybody else comes in, and you're thinking, oh, he's not actually in that true position.
That's what I was thinking with him, yeah.
And then he comes out, stays with it.
I think I found it just challenging. Mm-hmm. And then I couldn't move past the bad Ferrari strategy calls. Yeah. So I was like focused in on that for a while.
Yeah.
And just like Max's non-performance, I thought that was just really interesting.
Yeah, he just didn't seem to have it together.
No.
Which is interesting because coming off of Japan.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see.
Yeah, I think that car's just not performing, and I hate to say it, but moving to a Ford engine.
Yeah,
that's interesting. And then you've lost Adrian Newey. So like, is this the end of Red Bull?
Their dominance? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're obviously not going away. But like, I think it's going to be a while before they get back to any sort of dominance. Like maybe they end up with kind of like the Mercedes struggle that they've been going through the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. And I think this weekend has sparked a lot more of the rumors that we've heard for quite a while. But rumors of Max wanting to go to Aston Martin.
Yeah,
to be with Newey, Honda engine.
Do we think he would do that, or do you think he'd go to Toto?
I personally think he would go to Mercedes over Aston Martin.
Yeah, so do I.
I would think.
I don't think he has a lot of respect for the Lance Stroll situation.
And I think that's exactly it. I think he can see that it isn't a serious organization by keeping Lance in position. But I did read something hilarious, and it'd be, what if Max did go to Aston Martin, replaced Alonso,
and not Lance,
and you had a Max and Lance team.
Oh man!
And you'd have Newey designing the car. So Newey, who
could you imagine if like Lance ended up being like a world champion?
I cannot. It makes me laugh to think about it. Where my head was going is, can you imagine Lance driving a car designed for Max?
No, absolutely not. He would hit every wall.
Every wall.
He'd be like a Nicholas Latifi.
Yeah.
Just like crashing into everything.
Yeah.
No, he couldn't. And I think like apparently they're putting together, rumored, $1 billion deal.
Yeah.
Which I don't believe.
No, I mean there's no evidence to substantiate any of this.
I also think there's a strong possibility Max might just retire.
Yep.
Because he has been vocal about that.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't think he would actually go to Aston Martin unless, I mean, it would be pretty tough to turn down $1 billion.
Yeah.
It would be so funny to see Lawrence Stroll spend $1 billion.
Yeah. I think he wants a winning team, but I think he also wants his son to win.
Yeah, he does.
It's kind of like it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Because like, I don't know how serious Lance is about it. Like he kind of reminds me of like the kid that's on like the dance team that isn't as good as the rest of the kids, but like their mom is like super passionate about dance and like just keeps shoving them in. Yeah. And it's like,
whether they like it, I don't want to do it, Mom.
Yeah. He doesn't have the passion.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. Which, not to draw comparisons, but like, do we know somebody else who has a rich daddy? Lando Norris. Doesn't have the desire. Arguably has more talent.
I mean, I don't think it's fair to compare Lando to Lance.
Yeah, I will.
I think that's too harsh of a criticism. But there are some similarities.
But you don't see Lance whining every... he kind of sounds whiny anyway.
He's got a whiny voice.
Yeah,
and a whiny face.
He doesn't complain.
No, well, because I think he knows.
He's just like, the car's not great.
I crashed into a wall this time. Whoops.
He doesn't crash that much. Okay, homework for
Receipts
next week.
For next week is how many times has Lance crashed?
He has crashed. I absolutely agree with you, but it's not the number of times that some other people have crashed.
Yeah.
Poor Lance. Anything else you want to chat about?
That's all I've got.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Motorsport Podcast. We will see you next week in Saudi Arabia. Motorsport Podcast is a Forbag Media production. Follow us on Instagram at Motorsport Pod. You can listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or our YouTube page, Motorsport Pod. Bye.